Hello and welcome to the Philippines. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Filipinos being scammed by foreigners. Got some information that I've heard recently. And as a backdrop, I'm going to use this zoomed in with my Canon SX70 Super Zoom. I zoomed into some ships coming into the Cebu City piers, and I'll use that as the backdrop. A few different shots of ferries coming in as I talk here. This story, this scam, starts with a Filipina that I'm familiar with. She told me about it, and she was on Facebook, and I'm not real familiar with Facebook, but I know there's a whole lot going on at Facebook. Sometimes that's where you have to get your up-to-date information on different things going on with different companies. But anyway, I guess there must be a place to meet up or meet people, whatever. And this foreigner contacted this Filipina, and they chatted over a course of a number of months. And anyway, eventually he says, well, I'm coming to the Philippines and would like to meet you. Within another month ago or so, she got additional messages in the meantime, but he said, I bought my ticket and I'm going to be flying into Manila and then hope to be coming to Cebu City and really want to meet up with you. A week or so later, she gets a message, I'm in Manila. But I've got a little problem. He sends pictures of himself, or sends pictures of somebody anyway. And who knows what pictures? Maybe your picture that they pulled offline someplace. Who knows what picture they're using? Probably not their personal picture. But anyway, it says, I'm in Manila, but I have a problem. I was carrying a large amount of money because I want to build a house for you. Buy a house or build a house. And I'm only allowed to have 10,000 US dollars in my possession, so I have too much. They've arrested me, and the only way I can get out of jail is to pay a large fine. Can you help me out? You can see where this is going, I bet. Now, the bad part, not of this story, the bad part is there are many very naive people around the world getting scammed by various scams. And I'm familiar. In fact, maybe I'll put a link in the description. There are a number of channels about people getting back at scammers. A lot of them coming out of India, as a matter of fact. Cheating people, especially the elderly, out of tens of thousands of dollars. Anyway, this Filipino, being a smart lady, as she relates to me, she said, well, use some of that money in your bag to pay your fine. Of course, the problem is probably the government has confiscated that, and he probably can't get to it. But the more important point is she didn't fall for the scam. And hopefully no other Filipinos, people around the world, will fall for that type of scam as well. I am familiar with a couple other such scams, or there's some foreigners just like to play Filipinos or Thais or whatever. They're bored. Their life isn't worth much, I guess. They don't have anything better to do, no purpose in life than to harass other people. And I'm familiar with a couple of situations where foreigners, supposedly foreigners, I suspect foreigners, from claiming they're from various countries, there again, they find out an email or a Facebook link somehow. Somehow. There's a lot in the marketplace on Facebook. I'm sure there's lots of other sites, WhatsApp, Twitter, whatever, different sites where you can find out links to contact other people. Anyway, I'm familiar with a couple situations where Filipinos were contacted by a foreigner from someplace and just plays them, basically. And I don't have all the details, but it's basically, yeah, I want to come there. Send me a picture. Show me a picture of your family. I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you a lot of money. I'm going to help build a house and move your family into a really nice house. And the story goes on, and it's sometimes, what's the what is the person's motive and goal in this? Is it just some need to play people? Maybe. There are a number of other scams going around. One is, I've read about it recently. They've arrested some people. They raided an office. Basically, it was a pyramid scheme. You know what pyramid schemes are? Promise great returns. Invest this much money, and we guarantee you'll get 120%, 200% return within a certain period of time, and it'll probably be much more than that. And I've heard about them. I've heard about them from Filipinos. I have even had a foreigner or two say that, yeah, I've invested in this deal, and I'm guaranteed a return, amazing return within a certain amount of time. And generally, a pyramid scheme basically is you keep getting investments from people, and you take that money to pay the original people off. There's a point in time where your investments, people investing in your scheme, it's not enough to cover what you need to pay out. And then, of course, the guy responsible pockets as much money as he can. In the meantime, stashes it away in some bank account that can't be reached, hopefully probably by local authorities. And eventually the thing collapses, and most people not getting any return at all, in fact losing all their investment. A couple other things that have happened to me not so long ago, I think within the last couple of months. I'm walking down the street Sunday morning, probably pretty quiet out there, and some lady comes running across the street, middle-aged lady. And she says, I need your help, very desperately. And she's got this sheet of paper, a couple sheets of paper. And the first sheet of paper has a picture of somebody laying in bed. This is my relative. They're in the hospital, and we need to pay the hospital bill. And then she pulls out another sheet with a long list of hospital charges, and with a final total, forget what it was, but anyway, I guess one thing that kind of made me a little bit suspicious, it could be legit, but I saw her coming from the opposite direction down the street. She passed a number of people along the way and never stopped and talked to them. And when she saw me, she ran across the street, approached me. And after I said, in which I didn't, I wasn't carrying money with me, that she continued on down the street ahead of me, and I watched her for a couple blocks, and she never approached any Filipinos, anybody else. And I felt bad about the situation, but something just didn't feel right about that. And I've had a similar thing happen many years ago when I lived up in La Hogue, up over by IT Park. Some guy ran across the street, and I need money for this. I need money. I need to get a test, a certain test at the hospital, and just really urgency in his voice. And there again, it's like, why did you pick me out? I'm the only foreigner on the street. I watched him after that. I didn't see him approach anybody else. Now, I would love to save the world. I would love to be able to feed everybody, to provide jobs to everybody so they would have income, and you know, if I had the capital, I would make some attempt to do that type of thing. You know, you can, the old saying, you can, if you give a fish to a person, they can eat for a day. If you give a job, forgive me, I don't remember exactly how this saying goes. Give them a job, they can eat for their lifetime, or as long as they have that job, because they're earning a living. Teach them a trade, whatever it might be, and help that person out, not just for today, but longer term, so that they indeed can start helping other people as well. Risky business offers, something else I've been approached. I've had more business propositions here in the Philippines by Filipinos as well as a number of foreigners, as a matter of fact. I've got a good deal, invest here. Or I'm involved in a business, I'm an investor in this business. I'm going to start a business, a number of different scenarios. The first girl I met here took me to this big meeting actually, and they had a number of different organizations tied to this. A large group of people in this meeting. It was basically multi-level marketing, and they had cosmetics division, I think. That you could they had a food kiosks to make show me if I pronounce that, little food stands you could set up. They would help you find a location, and you would invest in that, and if your first location didn't turn out, they would help you find a new location. And they even had some top celebrities promoting this type of thing. There was a little film clips that we watched. And most of it was I go to these meetings, I've been to a couple of them over the years, and most of the meeting is in Bisaya or Filipino, Tagalog. But I understand, or Taglish, part Tagalog and part English. I've been in sales and marketing off and on in the USA enough to understand. I read enough about those types of things that I am familiar with the concept. So I understood as they were putting figures on the board, I understood what they were doing. The multi-level marketing, pyramid type situation. You bring on more people, they sell something, you get a commission off of that. And there was even an American who was involved in it at a fairly high level, and he said, well, yeah, if you can't own the business, but if you trust your Filipino friend. I said, well, you know, I've only known her a few months. I wouldn't say that I'm in a position to trust her with a huge investment. I've been involved, I've had a couple of my own personal sole proprietorships over the years in the USA, and so I know what it's like to run a business. I've been involved in a partnership one point in time, and I've known other people who have been involved in partnerships, and even though they were very good friends, partnerships are difficult because you run into disagreements on how you run, or you're making money but you're not making enough for two people and their families type situation. And that same thing can happen here. Is you have the time factor. If you're in business, you may be making money, but may not be making it fast enough to pay out dividends, to pay out salaries. And another friend of mine, he's invested in a company, I think 100,000, and a couple different times was asked to cash flow issues, asked to invest additional money. And although I know that he had paperwork giving him shares in the company originally, his additional investments, I don't know if they're tied, collateralized with stock or not. And I suspect not. So it's kind of a verbal loan, you might say. And I suspect he would never get that back. One other interesting thing that happened to me several years ago, down by Mango Square, Mango Street Avenue, and they used to have a lot of bars down around there. And I'm walking down the street, and this Filipino guy, he standing on the side of the sidewalk, and he says, "Oh, look, he's got what looks like a blood coming out, bloody foot." And then there's a broken bottle right next to him. He says, "Oh, I stepped. I need to go to the hospital. I need to go to the hospital." And it didn't really look like blood to me. It looked like, and there again, something's not right here. And why he picked me out, I said, talk to the Filipinos. They understand your language. Have them take you to the hospital. And I'm still wondering what's going to happen next if I take him to the hospital. Does he have a friend at the hospital saying, "Well, you need to put down 10,000, 20,000 pesos before we can treat him," something like that, and that's his friend there. I don't know what the end game was there, but it's funny. Later that night, I went on my way. Later that same night, and maybe even another day, I saw him on the other side of the street doing the same thing. So it was obviously some type of scam. I don't know what the end game was. I don't know, but there was going to be some attempt to separate me from some of my money, for sure, a substantial sum of money. That had to be, you don't just go around trying to trick people unless you have some motive. Anyway, it'll be interesting to hear in the comments what kind of scams you've come up against over the course of here in Thailand, in different places. There are lots of them. I've heard about them renting a skidoo to go out, a scooter to go out into the water, and you come back and they show you, oh, you damaged it, so you have to pay for the damages and repairs now. But there's lots of ways to scam people, so just be careful, be aware. If you rent a bike or something, check it over very carefully before you rent it, take pictures. Anyway, thanks for coming along. Stay safe, stay healthy. I'll see you next time.